I am J.Jordan, and this is another episode of Cosmo Vision. We at the luxurious boutique in Soho, Material Good, with co-founder Mr. Rob Ronen. What's going on, brother?
How are you? Good to see you.
Oh man, I'm happy we finally able to get this done, man.
Of course. Always a pleasure to see you again, and always here to help who you're helping out.
I appreciate that. I felt as though it was important for me to come here and speak to you today in regards to entrepreneurship.
Sure.
You know, a lot of people are aspiring to become entrepreneurs, but it takes hard work and discipline to do so. And I'm a fan of yours because you didn't inherit anything. You worked hard for it.
Yeah.
You know, so I love your story, and I would love for you to share your story with the people that are listening.
Yeah.
Now, what people don't know, Material Good is a nice boutique in Soho, a hidden gem, what I like to say.
Yeah.
How did this all come about?
You know, it's funny. You mentioned the hard work aspect, and Material Good is a product of a solid 15, 16 years of real hard work. It wasn't something that came about overnight. It wasn't something that, you know, I knew in a short period of time. In fact, I didn't even understand it over the course of 15 years. It was one of those things that happened over the course of a lot of hard work. And what I mean by that is, you know, history-wise, I went to, you know, college and studied real hard through my middle school, high school years, because I knew I wanted to go to college, and that wasn't given to me easy either. And so I was never a great student, but I always worked really hard on it. And when I went to college, I graduated with a finance degree. And when I got out of college, I was a finance major. And that's just because I thought that's what you're supposed to do. You know, you want to get into business, so you go into business administration or marketing or finance. And what I learned is, and this is something that, you know, I would implore all entrepreneurs to really do, is don't expect to think you know what you're going to do, because that changes, and it'll change as you grow and as you learn. And what I learned pretty quick is I didn't love finance. And so I worked for a big bank right out of college, and because I didn't have a real passion for it, and that's something else that I think you have to have when it comes to being successful in anything you do. You want to have a passion, something that you really love and like. And again, I had no idea what that was, being that I was in my early 20s. And by chance, I took a risk, and a friend of mine, his family was in the diamond business, and they thought I was a pretty decent salesman, and they asked me to come and learn the diamond business because they knew my friend knew I wasn't happy in finance. So I said, okay. And that's the other big part of it. You got to work really hard, but you have to take some risks. Sometimes safety isn't always the greatest play. And so I left finance and I learned the diamond business.
How was that for you? Because it's a different field, different beast.
Night and day.
Didn't know nothing about it.
Nothing. I knew nothing about it, but like anything else, I knew I had to learn it. And if I wanted to be good at it, I had to really dive in. Head, feet, toes, eyes, ears, all in the whole time. And so what I did was started going from understanding finance and all of a sudden selling loose diamonds. So I would gather, after learning what diamonds were and how to evaluate and understand the value, I would put a bunch of diamonds into a bag and pick a market that wasn't being utilized, and I would go door to door, literally door to door, selling diamonds, which is a daunting and kind of scary thing, because you don't really know what you're doing, and you really have to, through perseverance and real grit, staying in really not so nice places, because you can't, the budgets you get to try to stay in these places aren't so great. Going door to door, almost like a pizza delivery guy, but you're there to sell and try to get jewelry stores to want to.
So no, you had to get used to the word no.
Oh, hearing the word no has always been, I would say, the greatest teacher I've ever had, and that actually plays a big part into Material Good. But it took me 3, 4, 5 months of consistently reaching out to people, finding whatever ploys and plays you could to get them to just finally say, okay, let's sit down and work together. So after doing the diamond business, which, after some time and some hard work, I got pretty good at, I realized again, it wasn't something that I really had a huge passion for, but now I had a trade, which was interesting because it is one of those really mystical businesses that not a lot of people understand. But the most important part, and this is where fate also plays a twist, about a week after I started in this diamond company, I was introduced to my now current business partner and my best friend in the world, Michael. So Michael Herman is the co-founder, my other partner, my other founder in Material Good. And in the diamond business, we became good friends. And we also were both doing the same job. And at the same time, we both kind of realized that maybe there was other things out there. So he left and opened his own showroom on Fifth Avenue, where it was his own business. And for me, what I did was through the relationships I had made through the diamond business, I was introduced to the president of a watch brand called Audemars Piguet, which you hear about in a lot of rap songs. You see it in all the high-end magazines.
Yeah,
you see it on, I am. You'll see it on a lot of athletes and celebrities and business people. And it's, I always joke that if you're understanding watches, if Rolex is Mercedes, Audemars Piguet is like Aston Martin or Ferrari, and then you have other brands that are even crazier. So I left the diamond business and went to the watch world, while my best friend and my now business partner opened his own showrooms doing private custom jewelry. So over the course of the next 10 years, and again, this is 10 years of me being in the watch business, my business partner being in the diamond business, we cultivated a really large clientele. I would help him with the diamond side, he would send me clients on the watch side, and we really grew a great business. But like I said, this is now, over the course of 10 years, one client to another client to another client. At the same time, I was learning the watch world, but I was still working for a company. So I wasn't an entrepreneur at that time. My business partner, Michael, was. He started his own business, and I was kind of helping. And I always felt that I needed to do more of what he was doing. I always felt, but timing is everything. It wasn't the right time for me where it was the right time for him. And I almost have to say, I was very envious by the fact that, he could make his own hours. He was in charge of his own destiny. But at the same time, I saw all the stresses he had, because when you're a one-man show and you start to grow a team, you're now responsible not just for yourself, but for your employees and for your clients. And, just because you're an entrepreneur and you run your own business doesn't mean it's going to be easy. And at the same time, I do believe you need to be very prepared to make that jump, and I wasn't. So over the course of the 10 years while I was still working for a company, I had my good friend who I learned a lot of really good entrepreneurial tricks and traits from, on what works and what makes you a successful entrepreneur. And then after 10 years of really learning the watch business, I decided it was kind of time for me. And at that point, I was around 34 years old. So I'd been working for other people for close to 15 years on the corporate side. And really, like you said, really kind of trying to figure out what I wanted to do, hearing a lot of no's, working really hard, having some great opportunities, and some failures. And that's part of hard work anyways, wins and losses.
Speaking of entrepreneurship, it's very daunting at times, especially when you're a one-man show. What's some of the principles that you incorporated that got you over the hump?
Well, for me, when you're working, when you're working for somebody and you're another cog in the wheel, so to speak, there's a lot of safety and security to that, but it doesn't mean it's going to be easy. When you make the jump, and it is very daunting, what I would implore people and really insist people keep in the back of their head is, it's always going to get harder before it gets easier. But if you know that you've got the passion for it and you really want to make it work, you'll figure it out. You'll make it work. But there's no cutting corners. There's no shortcut. There's no easy way. But it requires you to really master what you do. To start a company and expect people to buy from you, to trust you, to want to build and cultivate a relationship with you, they have to know you know what you're doing. They have to feel confident and secure. And so when we come to Material Good, when I left the watch brand I was working for, when I left Audemars Piguet, I wasn't even at that time sure what I was going to do. I knew it was time for me to make a jump. And when I made the jump, I went to Michael and I said, I think we should start working together. But I still didn't know how. And I was trying to put together some of the relationships I had on the watch world, other retailers I had worked with to drum up business, as well as some of the diamond stuff I was doing. And it didn't feel right. Something was just missing. I knew jumping into Michael's business, all I would have done is kind of not been the entrepreneur I wanted to be, but just almost like a secondary version of Michael, my business partner and best friend. And I remember I was almost at my lowest point. I felt almost defeated. I felt like lost. I don't know if you watched the championship basketball game last night, Villanova.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes when you play your most difficult opponent, that's where you elevate your game. That's where you become better at what you do. If you're always playing with someone who's not as good, and I mean this in life, what's challenging you? So what I had to do was I had to really come to my lowest point where I literally had to build myself back up. And that's when Material Good kind of came to mind. I had to sit down and really dig deep, and I thought, well, what's missing in the world of high-end luxury retail, specifically in diamonds and watches? And number one, I said that there's no one in downtown Manhattan. And I saw the trend of all these people moving downtown, all the money that was coming downtown. Tribeca is now the wealthiest zip code in Manhattan, more so than the Upper East Side. And there was no high-end luxury retail. You know, there was when we opened a few high-end stores. Hermes was here, I'm sorry, Chanel was here, and a few other brands, but nothing really in the watch and jewelry world. It was more boutique-y, smaller boutique shops. And I had the idea of why don't we bring something downtown, but make it very different than what you have uptown? Because I feel like in the world of luxury watches, diamonds, jewelry, it's either very uncomfortable, very snotty, very judgmental, or it's very low end, and you feel like there's a lot of distrust in, am I buying the right thing? Who am I buying from? Because it's a really, you either buy from the brands directly, and that can be tough. So what we wanted to do is create something that wasn't about product, wasn't about price. Those were secondary. It was about experience. And I saw from my 10 years of working on the watch side, going into retailers, working with many different points of sales, and I saw what made Michael so successful on the diamond side, which was word of mouth. There's no pressure. You make the client feel really special. You educate them, and you don't expect them to buy. That's the icing on the cake, if you provide them with a great experience. So I said, why don't we take all these, it's almost like, you know, a chef who can take all these different ingredients and kind of look at it from afar and see how to make the cake. And so I said, well, A, why don't we do something downtown where there's nothing, which is a huge risk because there was nothing here. Sometimes the first entrant can also be one of the biggest disadvantages. You know, when you're the first person leaping in, leaping in. It's sink or swim.
You're the test dummy.
You're the test dummy. So we said we'd go downtown, also with less competition, which is also an advantage. But let's take it from the ground floor, bring it upstairs. And that has been one of our greatest successes. Why? Because we're not private, we're open to the public. But it allows us to really focus on our clients. Keeps it a little bit more private, makes it more feeling of an exclusivity. And ground floor retail in the high-end luxury, I almost find like it's an oxymoron. I don't want to say anyone can come in, but if you have lots of people coming in that really aren't there, how do you judge between who's serious, who's not serious, who wants to spend, who doesn't? And it allows for a lesser experiential, environment. But I'll tell you, when you talk about the nodes, when we started kicking around the concept of a high-end luxury concept store that would primarily focus on diamonds, watches, and jewelry, we weren't ground floor, we were upstairs, and we were going to do it downtown. Right away, people started saying you're crazy. And then we started saying that it was 5,000 square feet. We were going to spend an insane amount of money making it feel like an apartment and not like a store. Again, you're crazy. It's never going to work. You're going to waste all your money. You're going to fail. You're going to ruin Michael's business. You're going to be a disaster. And we knew we still had something. And that's the other thing. When it comes down to finding your passion and knowing that if you've got a vision and you got a dream and you've put the hard work in, very few people will tell you it's the right thing, but it's the right thing. If it's in your heart and you know you want it, you've worked hard for it. So we started looking, we found an amazing space, and we started the build process. We put all of our money in. In poker, we went all in. Yeah. And we put everything on the line, and we built out the space. We still didn't have the final approval of our two biggest watch brands, Audemars Piguet, who I worked for, and Richard Mille, another very high-end watch brand. We knew we could do the jewelry part. We didn't know the art was going to come that amazingly once we built the space. But there's a great movie called Field of Dreams with Kevin Costner. It's a baseball movie. And the line is, if you build it, they will come. And we literally did that. We built this amazing space, and And that allowed us, when people actually started to see the idea and the concept, the brand started to come. And they started to say there might be something special here. And you know, Material Good is basically a place where people can come and buy, you know, very high-end watches, very high-end jewelry and big diamonds, but do it in a way where you really feel comfortable. And obviously you'll be able to show everyone the space a little bit. You know, the most humbling part is it doesn't matter what gender, male or female, it doesn't matter what race, what ethnicity, what culture you come from. We've really been very lucky that we made a space that everyone can appreciate. And I think that really allows people to feel comfortable. And some people come and they spend hours here and they don't buy, and we don't care. We don't pressure anybody. We want them to be comfortable. If you see, this is my business suit.
Yeah. Started to call you, ask you, what should I wear?
No, you always look great. And so, you know, it's really more about the experience for the client, so that they can come here and be emotionally attached to the process, not just the product, not just the price. And we host amazing events here. We do.
Just had one in December.
We've done a lot. We've done John Legend and Chrissy Teigen's baby shower. We've launched hedge funds here. We've done things within business, within arts, within music. We've done listening. We did Commons listening party here. We've done a lot of fun stuff, and it's all about just bringing great people into space. When you look at business, yes, everyone wants to do business to make money. That's the goal, right? But there's so much more to it than doing that. It's really about connecting with your clients, building relationships, and this is almost the stage for us to perform and entertain for our clients. So then they feel comfortable and they know they can come back to us, and they want to bring their friends and their work associates and their colleagues. And you know, we took a lot of risks, we heard a lot of no's, and now after it'll be our 3-year anniversary in September. Wow. It's exceeded every one of our wildest dreams. When we started, it was a team of Michael and myself and 2 or 3 others. We're now over 35 employees. We have an off-site studio where we videotape, we film, and we photograph, and we digitally enhance all of our products. Nothing is used from we make all of our own photography. Everything you see on our website, everything you see in social media, we generate it all ourselves, because we want to make sure every touch point, every time you integrate, interact, talk to, look, touch, taste, feel Material Good, it's us. And we can put our personality and our fingerprints on it and make it really authentic. Because for me, it's when you want to build a brand, you need to make sure you hit on all the areas. You don't leave anything else to chance. And just because, and the other thing is, you know, for an entrepreneur, and something that I'm sure you understand, once you get a taste of success, it only gets harder. Because then as you get more successful, people doubt you, people wait for you to fail, and you don't ever want to be complacent. You always want to be growing. So, you know, I sit down with my team weekly, if not almost daily, on ways with how we can grow on sales, on marketing, on social media, how we integrate with our clients better, client services. You know, there's so much you have to do, but that's the joy of it. And that's where being an entrepreneur, I think, has its most reward, is that you can make it as big as you want or as little as you want, but it never stops. It's an organism. It's always, it's a starving baby, and you have to keep feeding it, or else it will, you know, it might stay the same size, but a real true entrepreneur always wants to grow. And it doesn't mean growing just by monetary, by money. You want to grow creatively. You want to grow with your team. You know, the greatest thing is we host every year we do a big Christmas party, and every year the group gets bigger, and people are happier, and we're always talking about innovation and how we can grow. And you know, for me, that's where I find it the most rewarding. Sure, it's nice to be able to buy stuff and have a little coin in your pocket, but really the reward is knowing that you put so much time in. You know, I'll be 39 years old in October, and Material Good is the product of my 20s and half of my 30s of just dedication and hard work. And there was a lot of ups and there was a lot of downs, but the best part is you know, and there will continue to be a lot of ups and a lot of downs. That's life. But for me, it's been a really fun ride, and I think that's what a true entrepreneur appreciates. It's not the start or the finish, It's the ride in between. And when you're in control of your own, when you're driving your own car, you know, it's up to you how fast you want to make it, how much good gas you want to put in the tank, you know, and how safe you got to be. Because you can't crash into other drivers. You gotta stay focused, and you gotta really make sure you're doing the right thing by your clients and by your staff. And that's one of the hardest parts. And this is something I just to add, just so we can really round it all out. One of the hardest things as an entrepreneur I've had to learn, that was probably the most difficult, is people. Dramatically, when your name on the door, you're the one signing the checks, you're the one who has to make the hard decisions to either hire, fire, give people raises, steer the ship, and you have to do a lot of personalities. And you have to make sure you can monitor and maintain all the different personalities when they work with each other. So it's almost like being a parent, where you can't play favorites. You got to help, you know, your one child grow because he's not so good at this, but he's really great at that. And at the same time, the opposite could be for one of the other employees. And sometimes personalities clash. Yeah. So you have to always be really focused on team building, building people up and making them feel good, and giving them an enjoyable work environment. And you know, the store might look great. It might be a beautiful place to spend time, but you also really need to understand it's still a business. And all businesses at its core have the same principles. Whether you're in telecom, .com, you're in real estate, when you're running a company, it's all the same.
You ever think about taking it to the West Coast or what?
You know, it's funny. Well, one of the things that's very every business has its own logistical constraints, right? Its own parameters that delegate where you can and can't go. So, I only want to go where I can bring my brands. We're not at a point yet where we're so well known where we could just break off some pieces. So the way we're growing right now is the major markets: Los Angeles, Miami, Las Vegas, New York, and those for my business are the real primary markets, are very saturated. We got very lucky. We came downtown Manhattan. We were the first ones, and everything is uptown, Madison Avenue, Fifth Avenue, and we were very lucky that we nailed it when we came downtown. But where I see the biggest growth is in more B markets: Boston, DC, Dallas. We can run down the East Coast. But remember, one of the other constraints of an entrepreneur is it's Michael and I. Michael and I are the owners and founders. We can only be in one place at one time, and to be able to what you never want to do, and this is one of the fatal flaws of a lot of businesses. They blow up, they get successful, and then what they do is they overexpand. And because the core, either the owner or the core principles, they get watered down or they get forgotten, that secondary, third, fourth, fifth business doesn't have the same heart and soul of the first business, and it's not successful. And then all of that, when those other businesses aren't successful, it draws down the money and the financial ability from the main business. So you got to be careful. Sometimes, it's like in anything. You never want to. You really want to make sure that what made you great, you focus on that, and you want to make sure you grow in a way that is smart, that is calculated. So we're not thinking about going to the West Coast, to answer your question, but we are working on expanding to the East Coast. We've got a project right now that we're opening up an Audemars boutique in East Hampton, in the Hamptons, which sometimes you got to chase the money.
Absolutely.
We're also working on a couple boutiques with AP and RM in Boston and DC, which are two markets that are easy for us to get to. It's a quick train ride to get there. It's not too far in either direction, but it allows us to kind of spread out, but still kind of maintain. And we're doing that with our big brands because they're a really good strategic partner. And you have to make opening a place like Material Good has so many moving parts. We do art, we do jewelry, we do bags, we do watches, and for us to replicate this, it had to be in a really special place.
That's what I was going to ask you about the art. How did you get into the art? Because you got original Andy Warhols on the wall.
We have Warhol, we have KAWS, we have Murakami, we have Basquiat. We change the art out regularly because it's a really fun way to reinvent the space. It's funny. We knew so kind of the essence of Material Good is to make people feel comfortable. When do you feel the most comfortable? When you're at home. When you're in a retail store and you have a salesperson following you around, that's not comfortable. when you're kind of always on the defensive about, oh, he's just trying to sell me. That's not comfortable. So we wanted to create an environment which didn't feel like a store. It felt like you were in a beautiful loft home. And that allows the client to automatically start to feel comfortable, not to mention open their eyes a little bit, get them off their phone, get them to actually want to get reattached to the process, which we found incredibly successful, is people crave. Everything got to the point where you could just do it from your home. But then no one really got excited about the process, and they forgot. Not that they didn't want to anymore, they just forgot how much fun it is to actually go and invest time in figuring out what's the right watch for me. Am I going to buy this piece of jewelry for my mother, for my girlfriend, for my wife? When I can bring my wife here and bring my friends here and actually create an environment, people crave it. It's the same thing that, you can go online dating and you can meet a girl online. But unless you go face to face and take her on a date, you're never going to ever get anywhere with that girl. You can't do it through a tablet. And it's the same thing with the shopping experience, in any experience for that matter. But you just have to do it in a way that's much more enjoyable for the client. So, the art, when we were deciding that we would build out the space, we said, we got a lot of walls. And we don't just want to make it, we want to make it feel luxurious, fun, informative, and also surprising, and art's a great way to do that. So what we did was, when we started the process, we built the space out, we started bringing in a few of our really good, because again, remember, 15 years of building clients before we even started Material Good. So we had a base. We knew we had the bread before making the sandwich. And we brought some really amazing collectors of art that we knew that we were very good friends with, and we said, hey, we're going to have some amazing people coming to the store. If you're ever looking to put some of your art on display, great place to put it. And they all said, wow, you know what? It's safe.
Smart.
The art is not on ground level where, people can come in and it hurts the market. It's a really discreet, private way to put amazing art on display. And all the art's for sale. We've sold a lot of big pieces of art. And, any big art collector, I don't care how big their house is, they're always going to have more art than they have wall space.
Yeah.
So they keep it in storage, and then the real passionate art collector buys a lot of art, and he can only keep so much of it on his walls. So this is a great place for them to put the art out, try to maybe make some sales on pieces that they're willing to sell because maybe they've grown a lot in value. So we're always we have collectors, we have a few galleries that love also using our wall space because it's just another a great marketing value add for them to do it here in the store.
Absolutely,
yeah.
And for yourself.
And for ourselves, exactly. Yeah. And also now Michael and I have become pretty active art buyers. When we see value, we buy art and we put it on our walls ourselves. And we host art. We've hosted dinners and cocktail parties here with specific artists where we cover all the walls with just their pieces and make kind of a more event-based, fun kind of party with it. So it's just another thing where, we try to be the one-stop shop for all things luxury for the most part. We don't have cars, we don't have the space for it. We don't have boats. The water's not too far, but it's a little difficult. But anything you can put in your home, things you can carry on yourself, watches, diamonds, jewelry, art, beautiful leather goods for the women. We have the rarest selection of Hermes bags you'll find, which we're gonna love, which you can't really buy anywhere because they're, you have to be. It's a whole process, in order to get access. So so that's fun.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity, man.
Of course.
I wish you guys much success. Rob Ronen, J.Jordan, Material Good, Cosmo Vision.
Thank you so much. Such a pleasure.
Thank you.